everyone! So, continuing the Venice Film Festival coverage, today's movie I'm going to be discussing on the channel is the newest film from celebrated filmmaker David Fincher. His latest film is a gripping neo-noir thriller called The Killer, which is actually based off a 90s French graphic novel of the same name. The film stars Michael Fassbender as an unnamed paid assassin, and after a job goes awry, he goes on a globe-trotting quest to find answers and also takes out a bunch of more targets along the way. And that's pretty much all you need to know about the plot. This was definitely one of my most anticipated films in the entire Venice Film Festival lineup, and understandably, it's David Fincher. I have a lot of love for the man. He is a very consistent filmmaker. In fact, whenever his name is attached to a project, it's always an assurance of quality. Even the films of his which I don't particularly like Mank, I still have a great deal of respect for. I'm gonna say this, compared to Mank, I absolutely loved The Killer, but when you compare The Killer to the rest of David Fincher's filmography, it's not as strong as, say, some of his other films like Fight Club, Gone Girl, Seven, or The Social Network. But having said that, I still had a really good time with The Killer. I thought it started very strong. The opening credits and the first chapter were incredible. Fincher grabbed my attention immediately. The opening chapter in Paris was very well done. It introduces us to the killer, who's played by Michael Fassbender. Through narration, we learn about his meticulous methodology to his kills. It's kind of like Dexter meets the driver from Drive. He's calm, he's patient, and he's precise. Does he remind you of anybody? He should, because the killer's characteristics kind of mirror David Fincher's style as a director. David Fincher is all of those things, and he's renowned for doing a lot of takes until he gets the job done. So we can kind of deduce from that why Fincher was attracted to this project. He saw a lot of himself in this character, apparently. The whole first chapter really lets us into the calculating mindset of this assassin. He's very measured and centered. He does yoga and has a work playlist while he's taking somebody out. Side note, the soundtrack choices in this film are fantastic. Gotta love the Smiths and Portishead. But he also has his own mantra that he repeats to himself every time he's about to take somebody out. Anticipate, don't improvise, trust no one, empathy is weakness, weakness is vulnerability, etc. Admittedly, this mantra does get a little bit tedious the third or fourth time you hear it in the film, but regardless, the opening chapter of this film was riveting. And while the rest of the film is really good stuff, I was never as in it as much as I was in the first 25 minutes, I'd say. Michael Fassbender delivers a great performance as the stoic assassin. Like, he's a very intimidating presence on screen. He's quite chilling, and he's got that gravelly delivery with his lines, but his inner monologue really allows him to also be quite funny as well and deliver some funny musings like WWJWBD. Sorry, I had to remember the letters, which stands for What Would John Wilkes Booth Do? And he also somehow manages to make this line, Popeye the Sailor said it best, I am what I am. He made that sound cool. I don't know how he managed to pull that off. But yeah, this is an excellent performance from Fassbender. As far as the supporting cast goes, everybody in this is fine. There's some nice work from Parnell, Kerry O'Malley, and Tilda Swinton, but this really is the Michael Fassbender show. I really love the cinematography by Eric Messerschmidt. He gives the film a very grimy texture, a lot of piss-stained yellows in the composition, and that grungy aesthetic pairs nicely with the pulsating score from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. I don't think it's their most memorable score that they've made, but I did like that it gave the film a seedy quality. So yeah, there's plenty to praise about The Killer, but where the film came up a bit short for me was just with a few little things, like there were a few scenes where I could tell I was looking at a green screen, particular scenes shot inside the car, and I'm not used to seeing like David Fincher films with a lot of green screen in them. I just feel like you lose a little bit of that grittiness when you can tell something is being done with projections and CGI screens. So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that. The ending of this film was fine, but not as satisfying as we've come to expect with Fincher's work. It didn't quite pack that Fincher punch. Dare I say the ending was a little bit conventional. So while I walked away from this film having had a pretty good time, it just lacked that wow factor that we get from so many of Fincher's films. I'm really measuring his films by the benchmark that he's set for himself, and he set it so high and made so many great movies that it's understandable that not all of his films would quite reach the level of greatness that we're accustomed to, even if the end product is still really good in a film like The Killer. I think you're gonna see a lot of film critics comparing The Killer to Fight Club because it does feel very self-referential to the movie Fight Club. Like, for one thing, they're both films which feature an unnamed protagonist, and they do a lot of narrating throughout the film. The opening credits of this film as well is very reminiscent to Fight Club. And there's even a Starbucks coffee cup thrown in there for good measure. So yeah, because of those similarities, you can't help but think, well, I've kind of seen Fincher do something like this before. And while it's certainly not a bad movie, it just doesn't feel as fresh or as groundbreaking. Shall we talk about its Oscars chances? We can, but it's not going to be a very big discussion. I don't think that The Killer is going to be a major contender this award season. I don't think it's going to have the same award season pull as, say, Mank did. Now that I've seen the film, there's no category at the Oscars where I go, oh, The Killer's going to be an absolute lock for that. Like, there's certain categories where I could see it maybe placing. It's like on the periphery to me at the moment for like maybe cinematography, editing, sound, and score, but again, none of them feel like a guarantee or a lock. I'm sure Michael Fassbender will be in the discussion for Best Actor, but I don't think he's going to get a Best Actor nomination for this. I'm happy to be proven wrong for his silent but deadly performance, but it just doesn't strike me as a performance that the Academy would go for. Again, I'm happy to be proven wrong, I just don't think it's gonna happen. Best Adapted Screenplay, I don't think it's gonna happen this year. While I really liked a lot of the dialogue in this film, Best Adapted Screenplay is shaping up to be one of the most stacked categories this year, with like Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and maybe Barbie, depending on where they put it. But yeah, not sure if I can see this squeezing in there. It's not impossible, I'm just not convinced it's gonna happen. I don't see it getting into Best Picture, I don't see a Best Director nomination for Fincher either. I'm sorry to say it, but I don't think The Killer is gonna get much traction this award season, but what do you guys think? Am I wrong? Is The Killer gonna get some Oscar nominations? If so, how many? Which categories? Do let me know in the comment section down below. I love hearing from you guys. So should we ask those 3 questions? Firstly, would I watch it again? Yes, this is certainly a film I could happily watch again. Question 2, do I recommend it for you guys? I recommend this film if you are a fan of David Fincher. Like, there's a lot of good stuff going on here. Like, great performance from Michael Fassbender, it's beautifully shot, cinematography's great, the score's good, there's some really brutal action sequences as well. Like, it is very well done. In terms of craft, this film is really well put together. I don't think it's top tier Fincher, but I still think it is worth watching. So yeah, I recommend it. And third question, what score to give it out of 10? Like I just said, it's not a top tier Fincher film for me, but still, having said that, it is a very entertaining, gripping, intense watch. So I'm gonna give The Killer a score of 7 out of 10. But as always, guys, just one bloke's opinion. Wanna hear from you. Are you excited for The Killer? Have you seen it? If you have, what did you think of it? Where does it rank for you in all of David Fincher's filmography? Whatever you have to say, let your voice be heard in that comment section down below. If you have enjoyed this video, please help me out by the little thumbs up button. It's very good for the algorithm. If you want more movie, TV, Oscars, and Venice-related content, don't forget to click subscribe, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, the Oscars, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Harefield, and I'll see you next time.